Welcome to the Harnessing Happiness podcast. Upbeat vibes generated and transferred to you. Now here's your host, Sarah J Naylor.
Hello and welcome to Harnessing Happiness with myself, Sarah J Naylor. Thank you, as always, for stopping by and listening to my podcast. Just love the fact that you're all over the globe. It's just awesome. So thank you for tuning in. Today, I've done something a little bit different, and I've got one of my friends to be a podcast guest because we've got quite an interesting story. I'm going to hand over to Lorraine. Lorraine, please do introduce yourself to my fabulous listeners.
Good evening, Sarah and fabulous listeners. As Sarah says, we're friends and we do have an interesting connection, which I'm sure you're all going to hear about very shortly. I'm actually a hairdresser by trade. I've been very fortunate to work for a big colour manufacturer as an educator for many, many years, which was fantastic. It gave me lots of opportunities. And then as life took me further on, I then found myself working freelance. And then eventually I got sort of my life path took me into working for Cancer Hair Care charity, of whom Sarah recently interviewed the founder, Jasmine Julia Gupta. And I've been there for 4 years now, and it's just, fantastic. That was a very
that's a bit about you. Yeah, I can't believe it's 4 years actually, Lorraine, because I remember having the conversation because
that's right.
Lorraine was talking to me at the time this opportunity arose, and it actually came in a little bit sooner than you anticipated, didn't you? Because you wanted to, from the conversations obviously we'd had previously, you wanted to bring about some change. You wanted to do something a bit more worthwhile, and this sort of kind of suddenly materialised. So you'd actually you've been putting it out to the universe, and it arrived somewhat sooner than you expected, really.
It did, yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what happened. I kept thinking, I love what I do. I don't want to give up my hairdressing connections, but I just felt that there was something more that I needed to do. There was something more out there for me. I still had a calling, if you like, and it did present itself to me, a little bit earlier than I'd expected. And that decision that I had to make just coincided with one of your visits to London to see me, didn't it? And
yes.
You were the perfect person with your background of recruitment to be able to discuss, the pros and cons of leaving something stable and going into something, completely different, really. So the timing was. I manifested you over that weekend with that choice as well, didn't I?
Shall we go back to the beginning? Shall we? Shall we? Then we can bring it right back round to the start.
Easier, wouldn't it? Start at the beginning.
Start at the beginning. Yeah. So once upon a time, I think somewhere around 20 years ago, Lorraine, who lives in London, and Sarah, who lives and still does live in Nottingham, both entered a competition with Kingsmill bread. I think I remember you did the competition off the back of the bread packet, didn't you?
I did, yeah, because they used to have, bread does still come in wrappers if you buy it from a supermarket. But it was a Kingsmill competition on the wrapper. And it was back in the days where you had to actually read all the writing and not type anything, but write, answers on a postcard, please, wasn't it? That's how competition.
Yes, and I came to it from a different route because I was at that time. Gosh, we're going back, and I'd been with my ex-husband, I think probably about 17 years then, because I think my son was 3 years old, and hands up, I didn't have a life. I actually used to spend my life entering competitions, not doing podcasts, not doing the stuff I love doing and all the things I do today, but I actually would enter about 40 or 50 competitions a week. And I subscribed to the Competitor's Companion, and in there it had this competition, the one that Lorraine's just mentioned that she entered off the back of the bread. And it was listed as a competition, so I entered it too. And it's rather magical when you get that LWE through the letterbox, isn't it? That long white envelope. It's like, woo!
Yeah, definitely. It was, and I think what's more amazing about this is that there were 10 opportunities to win this competition, but they were over several dates throughout the summer. So it just was coincidental that you and I happened to choose the same dates.
Do tell everybody where we went and what the prize was, because do you know what? For actually, just all we did was put our names and addresses on a postcard, and we were pulled out. And this is how so random it is, and as Lorraine's just said, the coincidences and the synchronicity of us choosing those same dates is just like, I mean, I don't know what the odds are, but I've gone all tingly.
Yeah, I know. What's more bizarre is this particular prize. When I tell you what it is, my family and friends couldn't believe I'd won this, because this is something that most people can do and I can't. And the prize was a cookery weekend for two in Umbria, in Italy. It was Umbria, wasn't it, Sarah?
It was in the Orvieto region, I believe. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, I was more excited actually about, well, firstly, winning something, but secondly, about going to Italy. Third was the fact it was a cookery weekend. Because, like I said, I'm not very good with food other than eating it, which I do love. But yeah, it was just magical, wasn't it? It was just incredible.
Oh, it was just the most amazing place. And the prize was just awesome. So it was the cookery course, which was it was a cookery course, a weekend, accommodation, flights, car hire, the whole shebang. There was a swimming pool with, it was like an elliptical swimming pool, so you could see across. Yeah. When you were in the water, you just saw across the countryside, and we just
stunning.
Hit it off, didn't we? We just got chatting, and obviously we did the course together, and it was just the most heavenly location. It was just absolutely amazing, and we've been friends ever since, and it's just.
Yeah, we have. And I mean, it started off letter writing, that old-fashioned way of communication, because there was no mobile phones then, was there?
No, of course not.
There was computers, but I don't think initially that's how we communicated, because I remember you sending me further competitions where you picked up leaflets in supermarkets and you'd say, so I continue to enter. So yeah, it was good old-fashioned pen and paper when we first met.
That is lovely. When you used to get things through the letterbox, and the whole it was very sporadic with sort of entering. I mean, I used to win loads of things because I entered so many, but it was all down to sort of the envelope you put it in and how you decorated the envelope. And do you know what? Talking about it now, it just sounds so. You're going, Sarah, is that really what you used to do? But you know, it was great fun, wasn't it? Because you never really knew what you were going to win. I mean, I'm actually curious, and I don't know if I've actually ever asked you this question. How did you get into entering competitions, and did you used to do a lot, or was it just that I did a lot? We ended up meeting, and then obviously I started to send more. I don't know what.
Yeah. I did used to do competitions, but not the same scale that you did. I did do a few. I think it's like a little bit of a bug, isn't it?
Yes.
You do, because I think I did a couple of, like, in my local newspapers, those low key ones, and won an encyclopedia for the kids, and but it's the actual thrill of winning. It's quite addictive, and so I did do a few competitions before, prior to the Kingsmill one. But you were saying about you were subscribed to Competitor's Companion. Well, I did as well, but I did as well because we had that in common. But that wasn't my route to winning that particular holiday.
Right?
I just happened to be buying bread that week and saw it that way.
But it was very different back then, wasn't it? There's something really exciting about it. It's something different. It gives you a bit of focus, and actually, you've got to be in it to win it. And a lot of people will turn around and go, "Oh, I never win anything." But the question is, have you actually entered anything? Do you enter anything? And it's all down to looking for the competitions. And I'll say right now, these big national ones on the television where you ring up and you pay so many. I don't do those, and I've never done those, because I think if you've got to pay to enter something, what you're doing is actually funding the competition.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's, I've made a few mistakes. I remember entering something on the Febreze competition. I ended up with a dog rug, and I don't even have a dog, and it was only a cheap rug. So it's always be careful, be mindful what you're entering in case you want, you don't. It's not something you want, but there's something quite exciting when you are entering, and then you suddenly get a notification that you've won. In fact, I have actually won a competition just recently, Lorraine.
And so have I, Sarah.
Oh!
Yeah, go on, you go first. What did you win?
Well, I was actually running a competition myself, because I'm a coach. I had a real big push just recently, and I ran a competition myself for people to win a free coaching session with myself. So I'd done that, and it really sort of triggered my sort of that whole thought about competitions again. It's probably why we're doing this podcast, Lorraine, and talking about competitions, because it's this power of synchronicity and the energy that you put out, and it just sort of radiates out. There's a lady called Karen Kingston that I've been following for many years, and again, this is sort of. It's synchronicities and stuff like that. But when my late aunt passed away about 3-4 years ago now, I inherited a whole pile of her books. And one of these books was Clutter Clearing with Feng Shui by Karen Kingston. I sort of changed things in my bedroom and the layout of furniture, one thing and another. Anyway, I've then realised she'd actually got an emailing list. And I'm not one for wanting to get huge amounts of stuff into my inbox, but I signed up, and she does a monthly email. And I've entered a few of her competitions. Anyway, I entered one. It popped into my inbox last week. I thought, oh yeah, I'll press that, enter that. 2 days later, congratulations, you're a winner. So I've got a clutter clearing competition for my clothes and my wardrobe.
Oh, amazing.
Yes, yeah. So anyway, that's quite exciting. So I thought, I think I entered 2 competitions on the same day, and that was one of them. So you've got to be in it to win it, folks. If you've got competitions, do go for it. Because the thing is, you don't know where it's going to lead you when you enter a competition, and that's how we met, which is like the sort of how random it was that we met and got chatting, and as you said, we then continued to communicate before mobile phones. In fact, my ex-husband still has a mobile phone number because I won his first mobile phone in a competition with Orange. And he's still got the same number that I won. Crazy. Yeah. So anyway, what's your competition win? Did you share?
What you were saying, years ago, we spent all that money on postage stamps, didn't we?
Yes.
putting postcards through and envelopes and filling in forms and things to try and win something, new set of saucepans or whatever it might be.
Yes. And, ideally a car, never got the car.
Yeah, but car or holiday was the plan.
The biggies, yeah.
We did get the holiday, we did get that. So I do find nowadays, because that's not the way of comping anymore, I don't do it half as much, even though it's easier to do competitions now, because it's like clicking a button, isn't it, on your computer?
But that's the point, isn't it? Because it is just clicking a button. It's not the same excitement. Also, you get a higher volume of people, I think, that enter as well.
Exactly. So I was very lucky because my passion with Diet Coke.
Yes, Lorraine does like a Diet Coke.
I do love a Diet Coke. I have a Diet Coke break far too regularly. Anyway, it was with Coca-Cola. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but they run.
No, you can say whatever you want. I don't know whether they'll give me any commission, but here we go.
So
other drinks are available.
Yeah. So Coca-Cola, they do often run nationwide competitions quite regularly, and they've recently done one. It is a type in on the computer one, but I didn't mind doing this one because I am actually registered to their website, so that was easy. So you get a code on the back of the label, or it's actually inside the plastic cap on top of the bottle. So it was just putting the code in, and I've won £50 gift voucher to spend in Harvey Nichols.
Ooh, I thought you were going to say you'd won a £50 voucher to spend on Diet Coke then.
That would last a week in this house.
Oh, wow, Lorraine, that's really exciting.
It's nice, isn't it? Because now I can... You see, this is the thing, so I've got this. And do you know what's also lovely is I actually received it in the post. They notified me by email.
Yes.
I had a good old-fashioned long white envelope with my gift card in the post. And that's what was so lovely. It wasn't just an e-token that I printed out and took up, take with me. I've actually got it was beautifully presented as well. So,
oh wow! Oh, how wonderful!
Make a real thing of it, and it just makes the prize even more special. So yeah.
But that's it. Do you know what you've just used a word there that is really important. It is special, isn't it? And it is. It's just. I don't know, we live in such a crazy bad world these days. There's so much going on. You get so much coming into your inbox, so much happening. That, as you say, having that long white envelope coming through, not an email notification, not something that you suddenly randomly found in your junk mail or anything like that. You've actually had this sort of notification. and it feels special, it feels exciting, and it's tactile, it's having something to touch. It's like when we had those win notifications, you know, with that competition and, you know, meeting, and then we actually went on the cookery course. We learned how to make things. We sat by the pool, and then as we said afterwards, you know, we kept in touch. You came up to my house, and then we've both gone through separations and divorces. We've changed the partners in our lives, and we've just carried on consistently sort of being in touch. But before we go on to all of that, you know, going back to the competitions, it's just that excitement of winning something.
It's like the Oscars, Sarah, isn't it? I mean, the day comes when they do the nominees, and they open up the winner on a tablet or an iPad on the stage. Then you know, it's just not as much fun. It's that official getting something through the post, physically opening it and taking out the contents and reading it and seeing it and knowing that you know, it's just something. It is something special. It's a lovely feeling, and like you say, there's been so much doom and gloom around. To have that little lift. I mean, I'd never expected to win anything, you know, a national competition. Probably loads of people sit and put their Diet Coke codes, you know, online, and it was such a surprise, and I was so thrilled.
But the beauty of it is, as well, is there is that lift, but when you actually enter the competition, there's not, you put it out there and you let go of it, don't you? Because there is no expectation on the win, unless you've actually, you know, when you've done slogan competitions, and that's when you have to sort of, Kingsmill bread is the best because it spreads beautifully, or something like that.
Yeah. You know? Well, no, thankfully we didn't have to do that, otherwise I wouldn't have entered.
I did win a few on the slogans, actually. I can't remember. Do you know what? I for a long time kept all my letters saying congratulations, and I think I don't know how long ago it was now, probably about 4 or 5 years. I just thought, Sarah, what are you doing keeping all of these? But now I look back at, I wish I had kept them, because you just got the dates.
Yeah.
But it's just I think the thing is, to sort of anybody that's listening, if you do see a competition, it's usually the smaller ones are the better ones to enter. But as Lorraine's just proved, you know, just randomly putting your details into a computer, and it's not cost you anything. You know, you've got to be able to win it, and you never know whether you might win something. And when you do, it's just such a lovely. It cheers you up. It lifts you, doesn't it? And it's just it puts you in a happy place. It does put you in a happy place.
Yeah, it does. I mean, I suppose at the end of the day, sort of human nature, everyone likes something for nothing, and it's a gift, isn't it? Really, but it's a gift that I kind of helped to arrive.
Yeah, but you know what? You don't. But no, when you go to use your Harvey Nicks voucher, that you then don't have a conversation with somebody who then you have a connection with, or they connect you. It's that whole. What that happens, it's part of sort of that journey. And I go back to how we met, because we both entered that competition. We didn't know each other from Adam before. We could have passed each other in the streets. We would never have known who each other were. But we met, we got on, we're on the same wavelength, we've got the same values. We've been really, I mean, we don't see each other every day or every week. We don't speak to each other every day, every week. But whenever we speak, we pick up. It's like we've known each other for years. Yeah. Well, we have known each other for years, but but like known each other forever, you know. But we've got, you know, I go down to London to see Lorraine, because Lorraine is theatre queen. So Lorraine is brilliant at organising tickets to the theatre. So we're always off to see something together. And if I'm not down there, she's usually seeing something with a raft of friends. But you know, we both like running. We've both got similar values on life, and it's just that connectivity. But we would never have met had we not entered that competition. And it's how that all connects together, the synchronicity of it all, and the sort of the journey. And here's another thing which we haven't mentioned as well, which is very another spooky synchronicity. Lorraine has a son and a daughter, and Lorraine's daughter is my birthday twin. Albeit obviously she's a lot younger than me, but yeah, we both have the same birthday, don't we, on the 19th of October.
Yeah,
I mean,
quite incredible, isn't it?
And I think the thing is, when you start to have conversations with people, there are always links if you sort of look hard enough, you're curious and you ask questions and stuff like that. But it's just fascinating. Anyway, that's part of our story of how we met and our love of competitions. And clearly, we're both still having a sneaky enter of a competition here or there, and we're both winning. So when did you hear about your win then?
A couple of months ago. You see, that email wasn't that exciting because I just saw in my inbox, along with loads of other emails, usually most of them irrelevant. And I saw it was Diet Coke, and I just clicked on it, getting ready to push delete next, because that's what I tend to do with a lot of my emails that come in that are not not bearing gifts. And I suddenly thought, and I sort of read the first bit. I think it sort of said congratulations, so that stopped me from deleting it. And then I read through and thought, oh, wow, I actually. It was worth putting that token code in and entering, because I'm wondering actually how many people do it. Obviously there must be thousands, but so many people would probably buy a can of Diet Coke, and it wasn't just, I think it was normal Coke as well. I mean, it's just that I drink Diet Coke, and they don't bother, like me, to keep the plastic top, wipe it, put it in my handbag for later so that I can I'm guessing there's probably many, many thousand that just bin it, or hopefully recycle it.
Absolutely. There's so much on packaging and things like that, and it just, I think it becomes noise. Yeah, I don't think people see it. They just buy the product, dispose of the packaging. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. But you do have to take action, and you do have to make an effort to do these things, and I think it's the people that do make the effort, and that's true of life. It's very symbolic of life in general, because opportunities can be presented to you all of the time, and unless you seize those opportunities, things don't happen. So we both seized that opportunity years ago, and likewise we have just both done recently, and you don't know where that's going to take you on that journey. But if you don't seize that opportunity, and it could be anything, it could be to do with somebody suggesting do you want to walk down to the shops with me, or do you want to do this, or do you want to do that, or an opportunity that falls in again, like the opportunity with you with Jasmine Julia Gupta and the cancer hair care charity. That kind of came to you out of the blue, didn't it? Because you knew you were sort of projecting out what you wanted, but you hadn't. Maybe you should have put a date stamp on it.
Yeah. I mean, it did come through one of my clients. To be fair, she was the connection. But that was still a connection that was made, if that makes sense, indirectly. So but it's putting it out there, and it's talking about what it is you want to do and how things. And it's energetically putting things out there. It's doing stuff. It's taking action. It's taking the plunge and doing it like you did. And actually, I was going to ask you right at the beginning, but then we sort of diversified back into competitions. But what do you love about the job that you're doing then? Obviously working, because obviously interviewing and talking to Jasmine Julia, it was, she obviously shared her story, which was fascinating, which obviously you told, you sort of referred her to me for the podcast. So thank you very much for that, because the story is amazing. And obviously her side of it. But what is it that what do you enjoy about it? What do you get out of it? And what does your role involved? Because it's if people are interested, obviously they can get in touch with you via the Cancer Hair Care Charity, or what I mean, they can find out more, because I know there's free resources. But what is it you enjoy about it? Well, I suppose obviously being a hairdresser, you like people. It's not a job you could do if you didn't. So obviously I love being with people. I kind of feel it's another step on. I mean, I do still do my hairdressing. Hairdressing is making people look and feel better. So really, I'm taking those two things and still applying it, but to people that are in a different way, people that need it differently. So working with people going through cancer treatment that's going to cause hair loss or thinning hair or issues to the scalp. So the job involves supporting them from the minute they're diagnosed to throughout their treatment to when it finishes. So the sort of questions that we get asked, or the support that is required from us is, when I'm going to say ladies, we do support men and children, teenagers, but the majority are women. When they first diagnosed, one of the first things they want to know is, are they going to lose their hair? And then of course, along from that comes the questions like, well, when am I going to lose it? What do I do about it? Should I cut it all off? Shall I let it fall out? Shall I get a wig? All these sort of questions come into their minds. And, this is where we come into it, because we're able to support them with all those answers. We can't tell them what to do, but we can guide them. And then sort of, again, during their treatment as well, different questions come up. Suddenly somebody's hair free now, they've seen their scalp for the first time in their life, and it's like, well, how do I look after it? What do I do with it? And can I put something on it? All these sort of questions sort of arise from a situation that's unfamiliar to them. So, as I say, and then again, when they through the other end, when they come out the other end, one of the first questions, or there's two questions. It's like, when can I have my first haircut, and when can I have my first hair colour? So they're normally there's two questions that come out at the other end. So what I enjoy about it is just being there for people. Being able to help and guide them, answer questions that perhaps other people can't do, just ease their journey of anxiety a little bit. Around their sort of hair loss or hair thinning journey. When I first was offered the job, a lot of people sort of thought, oh, isn't that going to be a bit sad? Isn't, that's very not as upbeat as, the sort of normal hairdressing role.
Yes, yeah.
But you know what? It's not sad. People aren't, obviously people are anxious and frightened, but generally, no, it's not a sad role. It's quite empowering. And, And for me as well, because it's really nice to know that you can help someone, you can alleviate any sort of, not physical pain, but emotional pain, just by being there and giving them some answers and support, really. So, yeah, that's.
So you feel like you're kind of giving back then, and you're doing.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely, definitely. Yeah.
Because you've spent a lifetime. I mean, you have literally spent a lifetime, haven't you, in hairdressing? Did you start straight? Did you go straight in as a junior? I
did. I started when dinosaurs were still roaming the land. Feels like it. and now I'm one of those dinosaurs. So I have been doing. I literally left school at 16, went straight into an apprenticeship, an old-fashioned apprenticeship where you actually learn on the job. I didn't go to college at that point. I learned the trade on the job in a salon in Mayfair in London.
So how long did you stay hairdressing for in the UK? Because you obviously then went abroad, didn't you? So.
Yeah, I did. But I didn't do hairdressing. I went to Bermuda for 3.5 years, but I didn't actually do any hairdressing when I was out there. I worked in a health spa, but I didn't work in the salon.
I didn't realise that.
Yes, there's something else you've learnt about me.
Yeah, you see. We've known each other all these years, and suddenly you start having conversations on a podcast and you find out all sorts of things. It's all about being curious, folks. Ask your friends. Just go and spend half an hour having a chat with your friends and start asking questions. It's really interesting, when you start to hear about people's history, what they've done, and what sort of forms their life and where they are. Because I think people are fascinating, which is obviously what happens with hairdressing, because you hear people's stories as well, don't you?
Yeah, probably some stories that we shouldn't hear. Yeah, I think I heard somewhere there was some poll and hairdressers came out top as having the happiest profession, and I can. Well, I'm not the only profession that causes happiness, but yeah, I mean, it isn't a job that you could do if you didn't enjoy it. You really couldn't, and I think that's why sometimes people do give up, or they go into other careers because it's just not for them. Especially when you start out, it's long hours, very low pay, and it can be quite grueling. But no, it's a fantastic career. I mean, I did at one point feel that I wanted to give it up, and I did train to be a aerobics teacher. Did you know that as well, Sarah?
I'm not sure that I did. You're looking good. You're feeling fine. Up, 1, 2, 3. Was it in the days of thong leotards and stripy leg warmers?
No, I think we just bypassed that era.
Oh dear, I remember those days. I have visions of me wearing my, I think I had some turquoise ribbed knee-length tights, and a purple thong leotard that I wore over the top. How attractive!
They were very popular in the 80s, weren't they? With the headbands.
Oh yes, I had one of those as well.
And wristbands, headbands,
yes.
Everything matching, neon. Yeah. No, it wasn't that era. It was just after. I didn't end up pursuing it. And do you know what's really funny is that when I had my son, his father worked shift work. So it just wasn't possible to go back to salon because, it just didn't fit into the way we worked as a family. And it got me thinking again. I thought, well, you know, I'm a hairdresser, I'm trained, I must be able to use these skills somehow. And that's when I went and did my teaching degree in hairdressing, so that I could then become a college lecturer, which would fit in with my son and then later my daughter, because of the school holidays. So I kind of tweaked my career a little bit.
I didn't realise that either.
Doing more of this talking, Sarah.
I know, we're going to have to. So you did a teaching degree, so you actually teach, so you can train teachers.
Not so much teachers, train hairdressers.
Hairdressers.
Yeah, college lecturer in London for several years.
Oh, wow.
This was before I met you as well. So,
crikey. But then you ended up working more in colour, didn't you?
Yeah, so I did. So once they grew older and I wasn't so much tied to the school holidays, then I went to work for Weller as an educator. So still training hairdressers, but not training them to be hairdressers. They were already trained, but they wanted to come on various sort of specialised courses within the colour world, if that makes sense. Well, it wasn't just colour, it was lots of other courses that Weller offered, but So I did that for many years, and I think that's what I must have been doing when I met you.
So it's interesting, isn't it? When you sort of start to think about hairdressing, you know, you sort of think about somebody doing sort of the cuts, the colours and things like that, but there are so many, and I guess this is true of, you know, so many walks of life. You know, there are so many other options if you choose to sort of look and explore, because, you know, it's tapping into your talents and your passions and what it is that you enjoy. And obviously you've stayed with hairdressing, which just brings you back round to where you are now, that you're still using it, but in a completely different way, and one that's sort of more fulfilling. But you've obviously also got your freelance clients. If anybody wants their hair cutting in sort of the Enfield area of London, or California, Lorraine did say she doesn't mind being flown out.
Anywhere globally, I'm more than happy to you know.
In fact,
tickets and I'll be there.
In fact, that's something we haven't mentioned, and we've only got like 2 or 3 minutes left. But you have got a little bit of a travel bug about you, haven't you?
I do. I mean, I love England. I had my Union Jack flag out for the Jubilee this weekend. You know, we've got a beautiful country, but we've also got a beautiful world, and I just love to go and, you know, see how it looks from the other side, and different cultures, different experiences. So I do love to travel. Obviously, I've had my wings clipped a bit, as all of us, the last few years, but planning to get back out again and make up for lost time very shortly.
It's been fab doing this. I mean, we had this conversation, didn't we, when I was last down visiting. In fact, well, I should be back again very soon, because obviously we live quite apart. We can't just pop round for coffee or a tea. But I should be travelling down to see Lorraine, because we're going to go and see Queen and Adam Lambert at the O2 together very soon. So I can't wait. It's only been rearranged 4 times.
Yeah. And then Lady Gaga shortly after that. We'll be back again. That's
yes. And then we saw obviously, and we saw Mamma Mia the party twice, didn't we? That was another story. We won't go into that now, but
that's another podcast.
Oh, another podcast, absolutely. Actually, my friend went down to see ABBA The Voyage at the weekend, and she said it was amazing. You've got tickets to that, haven't you?
Yeah, in August. I'm going. Yeah. Good.
You see, that's another of Lorraine, as I say, I touched on it earlier, but one of Lorraine's passions is music and theatre, so that's why I like to go down, because she's always good at finding tickets.
I do love organising an event, don't I?
Yeah, an event, travel, all sorts. This is why we get on, you see. And you can, and hopefully all of the listeners can tell, and that's what friendship's about, isn't it? It's not about having somebody that's pulling you down, it's about having somebody that's sort of cheering you on and supporting you, and is there for each other. And Anyway, so if anybody wants to get in touch with you, Lorraine, whether it be cancer hair care or whatever, how do they find you?
Well, with Cancer Hair Care Charity, there's a website which is cancerhaircare.co.uk, or you can email the charity, which is support@cancerhaircare.com. If anyone wanted to speak to me or contact me, you can just mark it for my attention, and I would get it that way.
And obviously, if you do want to fly her out to the States, just drop a note to me, and I'll get in touch with Lorraine, and she'll be on a flight.
Anywhere globally would be fantastic.
Indeed. She'll bring a Harvey Nicks voucher with us. It's fine.
I don't think it'll take long to spend that, will it?
No, that's true. You probably buy an eyeshadow.
Yeah, just
or a lipstick. Oh, Lorraine, this has been brilliant. This has been brilliant. Thank you so much for coming on board and making it like kind of a bit of a different episode. So I hope the listeners have enjoyed it. And if you have, please do rate, review, follow, subscribe, whatever you do on your platform. And thank you for listening. And I hope you've had fun listening to Lorraine and I sort of chatter away.
Yeah.
And obviously I found out more about Lorraine in the meantime, which is great. And
I know. I'll have to hit you with some more surprises next time I see you.
Yeah, definitely. And we're going to carry on entering those competitions. And if you see, and actually listeners, if you see some competitions, go for it. Don't pay anything to enter, but if they're good at competitions or local competitions or even newspaper competitions, just go for it. You never know where they might take you. You might find yourself in Italy and then with a new friend for life. And with that, I shall say goodbye and thank you so much for listening. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to the Harnessing Happiness podcast with Sarah J Naylor. If you took value from the content, please follow the show on your podcast app. And to find out more about Sarah's ape mindset, visit sarahjnaylor.com. That's Sarah J Naylor.